Welcome to Firearms Friday at the Wyoming State Museum here in Cheyenne. My name is Evan Green. I'm a volunteer here at the museum and have the wonderful opportunity of working with the staff to update the inventory of firearms in the museum's permanent collection. And today we're going to be talking about a really special Winchester rifle. This is a model 1876. And it is in caliber 50, 95, 300. That means that the bore diameter is a full half an inch, and it propels a 300 grain lead bullet with 95 grains of black powder. The Model 76, or Model 1876, was about the fifth iteration of a series of lever-action rifles, the first being the Volcanic, back in the mid-1850s. That was not much of a success because the propellant was included in the base of the bullet, so it was very, very weak. The next in the series was the 1860 Henry rifle. It was a vast improvement. It held 16 cartridges in this classic tubular magazine under the barrel, also chambered for a relatively weak round, the 44 Henry. The next in the series was the 1866 Winchester, which used the same cartridge, but had some improvements, including a loading gate in the side, as this has, which was called the King's Improvement. The next in the series was the 1873 Winchester, and this 1876 is basically an upscaled version of that 1873. The Volcanic, the Henry, the 1866, and the 1873 all fired what was basically a pistol cartridge. So the 1876 was an attempt by Winchester to respond to the demand for a large caliber, powerful rifle that could handle grizzly bears and elk and the large animals that were found on the western frontier. Also fairly efficient against hostile adversaries. And this one, the 50-95 Express, was the most powerful repeating rifle available for about a decade. There were other single-shot rifles that were more powerful, but if you wanted 7 or 8 rounds on demand, this was your go-to rifle. I'll talk about a few of the features, and then we'll move into the really interesting part of this story, which is who owned this rifle. So, okay, I mentioned the loading gate here on the side. It has the standard, these gloves are not good for everything. It has the standard ladder front sight. I had that up just a minute ago. Anyway, it's a standard ladder front sight, and this piece on the top is the dust cover, which is intended to keep debris from entering the action of the rifle. Another interesting feature is here. This is a lock that locks the lever in position so that if you're carrying the rifle or taking it in and out of a saddle scabbard, you don't risk having that lever drop down and not be where you need it to be when you're ready to shoot. So let's see how the dust cover works, and we will then examine why this rifle had some shortcomings. So you work the lever, and that dust cover automatically opens up, and this brass piece here is the elevator. And you can see that it fills the entire space in front of the bolt, which is this piece here at the back is the bolt. So in order for this to work, and what the elevator does is take the next cartridge in the tubular magazine and bring it up level with the chamber so that when you close the action, the live round is fed directly into the chamber. And as you noticed, that opens automatically when you work the action, and working the lever also automatically cocks this hammer. So the problem with this rifle was that because of that elevator design, the cartridges all had to be exactly the same length. The issue cartridge for the infantry and cavalry in this era was the 4570, and it was in Springfield rifles and carbines. And the rifle cartridge had a 500 grain bullet. The cavalry carbine had a 405 grain bullet. The case was the same length, but the bullets were different lengths, so they would not have worked in this particular rifle. So, who had these? Well, Theodore Roosevelt killed a grizzly bear in the Bighorn Mountains with one in 1884. About 600 of them were sold to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the Mounties. So it was the standard long gun for them in the early 1880s. When Geronimo finally surrendered after a prolonged war in the American Southwest, the firearm that he surrendered was a Model 1876 Winchester. So when we started looking at this rifle, this particular rifle, as a part of the inventory update, it was noted in the accession documents that stamped under the butt plate was the name Webb Hayes, 1879, Wyoming. So I asked one of the staff at the museum to please help me to see if we can do some genealogical research and find out who this Webb Hayes guy was. Well, as it turns out, he was the son of President Rutherford B. Hayes, and made regular trips to Wyoming, often in the company of the person he considered to be his godfather, General George Crook. Crook County, Wyoming, little town of Crook in Colorado. Crook was very active in the Indian Wars and recognized as a general as in the Civil War as well. So, okay, Webb Hayes. How do we know this was his rifle? I mean, anybody could have stamped that under there, right? So we actually have a pretty good record. This is a copy of the Annals of Wyoming from 1929. And one of the articles in this magazine is Recollections of Taylor Pinnock. Well, who was Taylor Pinnock? I'm about to tell you. This is Mr. Pinnock. I went on another trip with General Crook in '79, meeting him at Fort Steele and coming out with him. He had a party of 5 with 12 soldiers for an escort. We had wagons to haul our tents and stuff. We camped close to the present Jones and Williams Ranch on Calf Creek, right at the edge of the mountain timber. J.W. Collins was with us, and also Major Thornburg. We'll hear more about Major Thornburg in a second. And a Dr. Draper of New York, and Webb Hayes, son of President Hayes. So we take that pretty seriously. I mean, it's this is 45 years after the fact, but Taylor Pinnock was an original pioneer settler in the Saratoga area. There's a Pinnock Peak in Carbon County today that's named after him. I have to do this next sentence. We went on to Battle Creek to fish, as there were lots of fish, native brook trout, fat and short, not very big, about 3/4 of a pound each. We brought back about 1,200 fish. Apparently this was prior to bag limits. Major Thornburg got 56 fish in 32 minutes' time. You'll see some pictures of Webb Hayes. And the first picture was taken when he was like 22 years old. It was taken in 1878. And he looks like the kind of geeky kid you'd get to fix your computer, or I suppose your telegraph key back in those days. But the other picture of him shows him as he went on to his career in the United States military. He was wounded crossing the San Juan River prior to the assault on Kettle Hill. He went to the Philippines and participated in the American-Philippine War and was awarded the Medal of Honor in that conflict. He served in World War I and came out of that conflict as a brigadier general. So we can document this rifle, the provenance of this rifle, from a couple of directions. One is Webb Hayes. We know that he came to Wyoming on several occasions. We know that he came to Wyoming in 1879, which is when this rifle was manufactured and purchased, by the way. And we know that Taylor Pinnock guided that particular group of people, General Crook and Webb Hayes. And this rifle came to the museum from a Cheyenne collector who had acquired it from the estate of Taylor Pinnock. So we kind of think maybe it's not 100%, but we're pretty confident that Webb Hayes bought this rifle to come hunting big game in Wyoming in 1879.